Hey there, teenagers from the future. I'm the Comics Kid 2099 here to talk about an episode of Superman the Animated Series titled New Kids in Town. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it before I spoil it, which I'll be doing right now. In the year 2979, Brainiac goes through a portal and is followed by Chameleon Boy, Cosmic Boy, and Saturn Girl of the Legion of Superheroes. They followed Brainiac to Smallville, Kansas before Clark Kent found out that he was an alien from Krypton. Brainiac intends to kill Clark at this point in time, eliminating Superman from the timeline. The Legion team up with Clark, defeating Brainiac and wipe the memories of everyone in Smallville to cover their tracks and minimize the damage to the timeline. Cue credits. So the idea of this episode seems like a no-brainer when you're thinking of what to do in a Superman cartoon. The Legion originally spun out of the Superboy comics of the 1950s and eventually took over his feature in Adventure Comics, becoming their own fixture of the DC universe. So it only seems right to devote an episode to them in this series, and I love the plot of this episode. In the commentary of this episode, some of the people behind this one said this was their chance to do as many homages to the 1980s as they could, such as Terminator, obviously, as well as Teen Wolf and Aliens, but it doesn't feel like a patchwork episode. It seems very organic how everything falls into place in this episode, and admittedly, I love time travel when handled correctly, so this episode seems like it was tailor-made for me. But while the plot is smooth, unfortunately the episode doesn't quite work, and it's because of the characters. I can't really tell you who the protagonist of this episode is. Superman's name is on the box, and while he's not Superman yet, Clark Kent is here, but he acts a little bit like an anus for about the first half of his screen time, and then, like a light switch, he's suddenly more responsible with the use of his powers. Sure, I would be a little less careless if I was the victim of an assassination attempt, so maybe I should let that one slide. But Clark's character progression doesn't really happen organically, and even if it did, Saturn Girl removes any character progression he makes away from him by the end of the episode. Neither Clark nor anybody else remembers what happens, so what's the point of the episode? The solution to that question should be simple. Shift the focus from Clark to one of the Legionnaires, just for an episode. If he's going to forget anything anyway, then we might as well make one of the Legionnaires learn some kind of valuable lesson during this adventure. The whole Legion were inspired by Superman and his example anyway, so why not take that one step further and have one particular member be inspired by him after meeting him up close? It could have been someone like Timberwolf, who's a bit of a bad boy and thinks Superman was a bit of a snooze for being such a Boy Scout, and then he comes with the group to Smallville and sees that Clark is a bit of a rogue himself, but still has a heart of gold, and Timberwolf sees that being such a Boy Scout isn't such a bad thing after all. I don't know, maybe that's silly, but it could be anything. If you went in this direction, the whole episode wouldn't feel so pointless, and I only say that because of such a lack of character progression here, and what little character progression we do get is completely erased. And I do understand that, for continuity's sake, Clark does have to have his memory wiped here because he clearly doesn't know about his fate in Last Son of Krypton, but it's not him having his mind wiped that I have a problem with. It's that this episode chooses to focus on him instead of someone else who can actually have some character growth. Look at Batman the Animated Series. There's several episodes that don't completely focus on Batman. You could do the same here, I think, especially since we've already done that in episodes like Little Girl Lost, which was primarily a Supergirl episode. Seems like you could have easily gotten away with it here, too. Overall, I really do enjoy this episode. I like the Legion quite a bit, and seeing them in animation was really cool. I just wish this episode had been a little better is all. But those are my thoughts. What do you guys think of the episode and of my review? If you liked it, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back next weekend to talk about another episode of Superman the Animated Series. Until then, see you around.